Why did the earthquake happen at that exact moment? Humanity still has no clear answer to this question. We know that tectonic plates move, we know that stress accumulates, but why today? Why at this exact hour? No one can fully explain that. But what if earthquakes tend to occur more easily during certain periods of time? And what if those periods are related to the moon, which humans have observed for thousands of years? Today, I want to talk calmly, using data only, about a topic that is difficult and often misunderstood: the possibility that large earthquakes occur more frequently several days after a full moon or a new moon. This is not a prediction, this is not fortune telling, this is not meant to provoke fear. This is a discussion about statistics. The relationship between the moon and earthquakes has been studied for decades. However, most studies ask a very simple question: do more earthquakes occur on the day of a full moon? What about the day of a new moon? In other words, they look only for same-day coincidences, and the result is almost always the same. No statistically significant relationship is found, and the discussion usually ends there. But there may be something important that has been overlooked. That is, the effect may not be immediate. The moon's tidal force applies a very small stress to the Earth's crust. By itself, this force is far too weak to cause an earthquake. However, if a fault is already strained to its limit, that tiny force could act as the final push. And what if that influence unfolds internally over several days? Not today, not tomorrow, but 5 or 6 days later, the fault finally fails. Is that idea physically unreasonable? With this in mind, I focus not on the lunar phase itself, but on the time lag. How many days after a full or new moon did an earthquake occur? The dataset includes earthquakes of magnitude 7 or greater in Japan, and earthquakes of magnitude 8 or greater worldwide. The result was simple: earthquakes do not cluster on the exact day of the full or new moon. However, in both subduction zone earthquakes and inland earthquakes, there are many cases where events concentrate 4 to 7 days after a new moon. And when examined more closely, many of those earthquakes occurred between September and March. This is not a forecast, it merely suggests that the timing of large earthquakes may show a subtle pattern that cannot be completely ignored. Here's something I want to make absolutely clear. This is not prediction. This does not mean an earthquake will happen 5 days after a full moon. Earthquakes often do not happen at all. The point is simply this: when earthquakes do occur, their timing may not be perfectly random. This discussion is closer to climate statistics than to a weather forecast. Research like this is easily misunderstood. A small mistake in wording and it is quickly labeled pseudoscience. That is why many researchers avoid this topic entirely. But being misunderstood is not a reason to stop investigating. Science has always progressed by examining uncomfortable possibilities, not by ignoring them. This work does not predict earthquakes, it does not create fear, it simply suggests that there may be a subtle temporal structure in the occurrence of large earthquakes, one that has been overlooked. The moon does not cause earthquakes, it merely applies a tiny additional stress to a planet that is already near its limit. That is all. If this video becomes not entertaining, but a reason to think, then it has done its job. The data can be shared. Criticism is welcome, because science only moves forward when ideas are openly discussed.